The medical bay of the starship Ether's Wake hummed with activity as the emergency retrieval team rushed in with their cargo. A battered human reconnaissance specialist who had been extracted from what remained of an escape pod. The pod had been detected drifting through an asteroid field, broadcasting a weak distress signal that the ship's sensors had barely picked up. The alien medical team stood at attention, their various appendages prepared with scanners and medical tools designed to handle a wide variety of species. Dr. X-Rat, the chief surgeon, clicked his mandibles with impatience as the human was transferred to the examination table. "Status report," Dr. X-Rat demanded, his insectoid eyes fixed on the human's battered form. "Reconnaissance specialist crash. Retrieved from failed mission to Sector 9, reported the retrieval team leader. Found the pod using emergency beacon. Human was conscious upon retrieval, but lost consciousness during transport." As if on cue, the human's eyes fluttered open, revealing bloodshot but alert blue irises. A crooked smile spread across Crash's face, revealing blood-stained teeth. "Hey, Doc," Crash mumbled, attempting to sit up. "Just a little banged up. When can I get back to work?" Dr. X-Rat hissed and gently pushed the human back down. "Remain still, specialist. We must assess your injuries." Dr. Frylex, the analytical diagnostician, moved forward with a hovering scanner that emitted a soft blue light as it passed over Crash's body. The light pulsed, collecting data and projecting it onto the large holographic display hanging above the examination table. The medical team fell silent as the scan results materialized. Dr. Prash, the junior physician, let out an involuntary gasp. "This cannot be correct," Dr. X-Rat said, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. "Run the scan again." "What's the problem?" Crash asked, wincing as he tried to turn his head to see the display. Dr. Frylex ran the scan again, then a third time. Each result was identical. The holographic display showed a human skeleton illuminated in red where damage had occurred. Nearly every bone in the body was highlighted. "Ah, specialist Crash," Dr. Frylex said, voice wavering with disbelief. "You have 42 broken bones throughout your body. Your right femur has a compound fracture. 3 ribs are shattered. Your left wrist is completely fractured. Your right shoulder is dislocated. You have a hairline fracture in your skull. Your pelvis is cracked in 2 places. And that's just the beginning. You also have internal bleeding in your spleen," added Dr. Zarat, the emergency medicine overseer, who had been examining a secondary display. "Your right lung is partially collapsed. Your blood pressure indicates you're in the early stages of shock." Crash blinked, then shrugged, immediately wincing at the movement. "Yeah, it was a tough stretch of the mission. The thrusters failed when I was navigating around that gas giant. Had to jury-rig an escape pod from the auxiliary craft. Rough landing." The medical team exchanged looks of astonishment. "Specialist," Dr. X-Rat said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "You should not be conscious. These injuries are catastrophic. According to all medical protocols, you should be dead." Crash attempted to sit up again, grimacing but managing to prop up on one elbow. "Look, I've had worse. Just patch me up. I need to file my report and get back out there." Dr. Zarat moved forward, placing a 3-fingered hand on Crash's chest to ease him back down. "That is impossible. You require immediate stasis and extensive reconstructive surgery. The bone setting alone will take at least 12 standard cycles." "No time for that," Crash insisted. "The information I gathered is time-sensitive, and I can still function." To demonstrate, Crash swung his legs over the side of the examination table and attempted to stand. The moment his weight shifted onto his fractured right femur, his leg buckled. Dr. Prash lunged forward, catching the human before he hit the floor. "See?" Dr. X-Rat said. "Your body cannot support your weight. Just need a brace," Crash muttered through clenched teeth. "And maybe some of that pain stuff you gave me last time. The green liquid." "Trioxidine?" Dr. Frylex asked, incredulous. That would be highly inadvisable with your current liver function. Whatever works, Crash said, allowing Dr. Prash to help him back onto the table. Look, I need to speak with Captain Gerard immediately. The reconnaissance data. Your physical condition takes precedence, Dr. X-Rat interrupted. Captain Gerard can wait until we have stabilized you. As the medical team began preparing for emergency surgery, the ship's communication system chimed. Medical Bay, came the authoritative voice of Captain Gerard. What is the status of Specialist Crash? Dr. X-Rat moved to the communication panel. Captain, the human has sustained life-threatening injuries. 42 broken bones, internal bleeding, potential organ failure. We are preparing for immediate surgery. There was a pause before Captain Gerard responded. I need Crash's mission report as soon as possible. The data could be vital for our upcoming operations in Sector 9. The human is in no condition to... Dr. X-Rat began, but was interrupted by Crash's voice. I'm fine, Captain, Crash called out, loud enough for the communication system to pick up. Just a tough stretch of the mission. I can deliver my report in person. Just need a few minutes to get patched up. The medical team stared at the human in disbelief. Dr. X-Rat, Captain Gerard said, is the specialist capable of delivering a report? Dr. X-Rat's mandibles clicked in frustration. Technically, the human is conscious and cognitive functions appear intact, but I must strongly advise against... I'll take that as a yes. Captain Gerard interrupted. Have Specialist Crash report to the bridge when medically cleared to move. Use whatever temporary measures necessary. The communication system clicked off before Dr. X-Rat could protest further. This is preposterous, the chief surgeon muttered. No other species would even consider movement with injuries of this magnitude. Dr. Freilex had been studying the scan results more closely. Fascinating. Despite the extensive damage, the human's central nervous system is maintaining functionality. Pain receptors should be overwhelming all other systems, yet higher cognitive functions continue unimpaired. Just the human pain threshold, Crash explained with a pained grin. We're built tough. Or foolish, Dr. Zarat commented, preparing an injection of biostabilizer. I will administer temporary measures to prevent further internal bleeding and stabilize the bone fragments. But this is against all medical protocols. As Dr. Zarat administered the injection, Dr. Prash approached with a medical tablet. Specialist, I must understand how you sustained these injuries. The pattern is unusual. Crash winced as the biostabilizer entered his bloodstream, then began to relax as the pain-blocking components took effect. Like I said, thruster failure. I was scouting the moons of that gas giant in Sector 9 when something hit my craft. Some kind of energy weapon. I think, knocked out the main engine. I managed to redirect power to the auxiliary thrusters, but they weren't designed for atmospheric entry. The human paused, grimacing as Dr. Freilex began applying a temporary bone stabilizer to the compound fracture in the right leg. I knew I wouldn't make it back to the rendezvous point, so I detached the auxiliary craft's escape pod. Problem was, it wasn't fully functional. Had to jury-rig it with spare parts. Used my emergency oxygen tank to create propulsion. That explains the contusions on your hands, Dr. Prash noted, examining the human's raw, blistered palms. Yeah, had to do some field repairs without proper gloves, Crash admitted. Anyway, I managed to navigate away from the gas giant's gravity well, but the trajectory took me into the asteroid field. That's when things got interesting. Interesting, Dr. X-Rat repeated incredulously. You call multiple high-velocity impacts interesting? Had to dodge the big ones, Crash continued, seemingly oblivious to the doctor's tone. Got clipped by a few smaller fragments. One punctured the hull. Had to patch it with my medkit supplies. Your medkit supplies? Dr. Zarat asked. Yeah, you know, adhesive medical strips, emergency sealing tape, that sort of thing. You attempted to seal a hull breach with tape? Dr. Freilex's voice conveyed pure disbelief. Worked well enough to maintain pressure until I got knocked around again, Crash said defensively. That's when I hit my head on the console. Things get a bit fuzzy after that. I remember trying to stabilize my leg with the emergency splint, but it wasn't long enough. So I used a piece of the navigation console I had accidentally broken off earlier. The medical team exchanged glances again, a mixture of horror and fascination on their alien faces. And the internal bleeding? Dr. Prash asked softly. Crash frowned, considering. Probably from when I had to manually restart the life support system. Had to reach inside the maintenance panel. Sharp edges in there. Felt something tear. But I figured it was just my suit. Dr. X-Rat made a sound that might have been a sigh in a human. Specialist Crash. Your actions demonstrate a complete disregard for personal safety and standard emergency protocols. Got me back alive, didn't it? Crash retorted. Barely, Dr. Zarat muttered, finishing another injection. I have stabilized the most critical injuries, but you require comprehensive surgery. Later, Crash insisted. Need to report to the captain first. As the medical team reluctantly prepared a mobile support system, essentially a hovering platform that would allow Crash to move without putting weight on his broken bones, the ship's communication system chimed again. Medical Bay. Captain Jarrat's voice came through, more urgent this time. We've received a high-priority distress signal from a civilian transport. They're trapped in a collapsing asteroid cluster less than half a parsec from our position. Estimate total structural failure of the cluster within 3 hours. Dr. X-Rat moved to the communication panel again. Captain, we are still treating Specialist Crash. What does this distress call have to do with... I need Crash, Captain Jarrat interrupted. The transport is wedged between 2 asteroids. Standard approach is impossible due to gravitational fluctuations. We need someone who can navigate through the field and execute an emergency extraction. Before Dr. X-Rat could respond, Crash called out, I can do it, Captain! Absolutely not, Dr. X-Rat exclaimed. Captain, the specialist has 42 broken bones. Movement alone could cause further internal damage. There was a pause before Captain Jarrat responded. Is there anyone else on board with experience navigating unstable asteroid fields? Dr. X-Rat's mandibles clicked in frustration. That is irrelevant. The specialist is medically unfit for duty. I can do it, Crash repeated, louder this time. The human was now sitting upright on the examination table, the pain evident in his eyes, but determination set in his jaw. Just need a pressure suit and a shuttle. Captain, Dr. Zarat interjected. As emergency medicine overseer, I must formally advise against deploying Specialist Crash in this condition. Noted. Dr. Zarat, Captain Jarrat replied. But we have 27 civilians on that transport, including 6 juveniles. If the cluster collapses with them inside, they won't survive. The medical bay fell silent as the implications sank in. How long until we reach the transport? Crash asked. 30 minutes at maximum speed, Captain Jarrat replied. But the approach will take precision piloting through the unstable field. Another hour, at least. Crash nodded, wincing at the movement. I'll be ready in 10 minutes. Captain, Dr. X-Rat tried one more time. I must insist. Your objection is noted and logged. Doctor, Captain Jarrat said firmly. But this is my decision. Prepare Specialist Crash as best you can. Navigator Jarrell will brief the specialist on the situation. The communication system clicked off again. Dr. X-Rat turned to Crash, mandibles twitching with suppressed anger. This is madness. You cannot possibly pilot a shuttle in your condition. Watch me, Crash replied, attempting to stand again. This time, with the biostabilizers in his system, he managed to remain upright, though his face contorted with pain. Dr. Zarat shook his head but began preparing additional injections. I will administer a stronger pain suppressant and a neural stabilizer. It will keep you functional for approximately 4 hours. After that, your system will crash, and the damage may be irreversible. 4 hours should be plenty, Crash said, grimacing as Dr. Prash helped him into a medical support suit. a skin-tight garment designed to provide pressure and support to damaged tissue. "This is against all medical ethics," Dr. X-Rat muttered, but nevertheless began programming the suit to accommodate Crash's specific injuries. "The suit will immobilize your fractures as much as possible, but any significant impact could still cause catastrophic damage." "Noted," Crash said, breathing heavily as the suit tightened around his broken body. "Now, about that pressure suit?" Within 15 minutes, against all medical advice, Specialist Crash was suited up and limping toward the shuttle bay, supported by a combination of the medical suit, pain suppressants, and sheer human stubbornness. The medical team followed, carrying additional supplies and monitoring equipment. Navigator Jarrell met them at the shuttle bay entrance, his elongated head bobbing with nervous energy. "Specialist Crash, I've uploaded the coordinates and sensor data to the shuttle's navigation system. The transport is wedged between two Class 3 asteroids in the Kappa sector of the cluster. The gravitational forces are causing the entire structure to compress." "Any signs of structural integrity failure on the transport?" Crash asked, examining the holographic display Jarrell had brought. "Multiple hull breaches on the lower decks. They've sealed off those sections, but the pressure on the main cabin is increasing. Their engines are damaged, and life support is running on emergency power." Crash nodded, studying the trajectory plotted through the asteroid field. "This route won't work. Too many variables with the shifting gravitational fields." "It's the safest approach our computers could calculate," Jarrell protested. "Maybe for a normal day," Crash replied, using a finger to trace an alternative path through the holographic asteroids. "But, with the cluster collapsing, we need to account for the acceleration of the smaller fragments. They'll be moving like shrapnel." Jarrell's eyes widened as he processed Crash's suggested route. "That takes you directly through the densest part of the field." "Exactly," Crash said with a grim smile. "The larger asteroids will create temporary corridors as they attract the smaller fragments. It's all about timing. Our simulations indicate a survival probability of less than 20% for that approach," Jarrell said, mandibles twitching with concern. "Good thing I'm not a simulation, then," Crash replied, limping past the navigator toward the waiting shuttle. Dr. X-Rat intercepted the human at the shuttle's entrance. "Specialist, I have prepared a medical kit with additional stabilizers and emergency supplies. Dr. Prash will accompany you to monitor your condition." "No," Crash said firmly. "Too dangerous. I need maximum maneuverability, which means minimum weight. I go alone." "But if your condition deteriorates," Dr. Prash began. "Then I'll deal with it," Crash interrupted. "Look, I appreciate the concern, but those people on the transport need help now. Every minute we argue is a minute closer to that cluster crushing them." Dr. X-Rat's mandibles clicked in resignation. "Very well, but take this." He handed Crash a small device. "It's a neural monitor. It will alert you if your vital signs approach critical levels." Crash accepted the device, attaching it to the collar of his pressure suit. "Thanks, Doc. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a rescue to attempt." With that, the human specialist entered the shuttle, moving with a deliberate caution that belied the pain still evident in every step. The medical team and Navigator Jarrell watched from the bay as the shuttle's systems powered up, the engines glowing with a bright blue energy. "He's actually going to attempt this," Dr. Freilich said, voice filled with disbelief. "Humans," Dr. X-Rat replied, mandibles clicking softly. "They seem to have evolved without a proper self-preservation instinct." Inside the shuttle, Crash eased himself into the pilot's seat, wincing as the movement sent fresh waves of pain through his broken body. The neural monitor beeped a warning, which he promptly ignored. He ran through the pre-flight checks with practiced efficiency, despite the tremor in his hands. "Shuttle Epsilon to Ether's Wake," he said into the communication system. "Pre-flight complete. Requesting launch clearance." "Clearance granted. Shuttle Epsilon," came the response from the bridge. "Captain Jarrat requests constant communication throughout the mission." "Copy that," Crash replied, engaging the shuttle's engines. Launching now. The shuttle lifted smoothly from the bay floor and glided out into the void of space. Through the view screen, Crash could see the distant glow of the asteroid cluster, a chaotic swirl of rocks and dust illuminated by the light of a nearby star. As he accelerated toward the cluster, Crash activated the shuttle's enhanced sensors, mapping the gravitational fields and trajectories of the thousands of asteroids spinning through the void. The navigation computer beeped warnings as it detected the instability of the cluster, a tangle of conflicting gravitational forces, pulling the asteroids inexorably toward a catastrophic collision. Shuttle Epsilon to Ether's wake, Crash reported. Approaching the outer perimeter of the cluster. Beginning approach trajectory. Copy, Shuttle Epsilon. Captain Girat responded. Be advised. Our sensors indicate increased instability in the cluster's core. Time to total collapse, now estimated at 2 hours, 45 minutes. Understood, Crash said, adjusting his course. I'll have those civilians out in 2. As the shuttle penetrated the outer layer of the asteroid field, Crash's focus narrowed to the task at hand. Each movement of the controls sent spikes of pain through his broken wrists, but the neural suppressants kept him functional. He navigated through the slowly spinning rocks with precision, using the gravitational forces to his advantage when possible, executing microbursts from the thrusters to avoid collisions when necessary. Approaching the dense region, he reported, voice tight with concentration. Switching to manual navigation. Shuttle Epsilon. Our computers cannot track a safe path through that sector. Navigator Jarrell's voice came through, tense with concern. Recommend diverting to secondary approach vector. Negative, Crash replied, eyes fixed on the chaotic dance of asteroids ahead. Secondary approach would take too long. These people don't have time. Before Jarrell could protest further, Crash dove the shuttle into the heart of the asteroid field. The vessel shuddered as it passed through the gravitational wake of a massive asteroid, alarms blaring as smaller fragments pinged off the hull. Crash's hands moved across the controls with deliberate precision, each adjustment timed to slip between the tumbling rocks. A large fragment loomed suddenly in the view screen, and Crash yanked the shuttle into a tight spin, narrowly avoiding collision. The maneuver sent a fresh wave of agony through his broken ribs, and the neural monitor shrieked a warning. Shut up, Crash muttered, silencing the device with a quick tap. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he pushed through the pain, keeping the shuttle on course through the treacherous field. After 20 minutes of intense navigation, the sensors detected the civilian transport ahead, a wedge-shaped vessel caught between 2 massive asteroids, its hull visibly buckling under the pressure. Ether's wake. I have visual on the transport, Crash reported. Significant structural damage evident. Beginning approach for emergency evacuation. Copy. Shuttle Epsilon. Captain Girat responded. Transport captain reports their primary airlock is inoperable. You'll need to dock at the emergency access port on the upper hull. Understood, Crash replied, maneuvering the shuttle toward the transport's upper section. As he approached, he could see the metal of the transport's hull straining against the inexorable pressure of the asteroids on either side. The emergency access port was barely visible, partially obscured by a bent section of hull plating. Transport. This is Shuttle Epsilon, Crash transmitted. Preparing for emergency docking. Clear all personnel from the access corridor and prepare for potential decompression. Copy. Shuttle Epsilon, came a strained voice from the transport. We've sealed off adjacent compartments, but the access port mechanism is damaged. You may need to force entry. Understood, Crash replied, easing the shuttle into position above the port. The docking procedure would normally be straightforward, but with the transport's damaged systems and the constant movement of the asteroids, it became an exercise in precision flying. As Crash aligned the shuttle's airlock with the transport's access port, a smaller asteroid tumbled past, scraping along the shuttle's hull with a screech of metal. The impact sent Crash lurching forward in his seat, driving a broken rib against his damaged lung. He gasped in pain, vision blurring momentarily. The neural monitor flashed red, and a synthesized voice announced, "Warning. Critical physiological distress detected. Recommend immediate cessation of activity." Gritting his teeth, Crash ignored the warning and completed the docking maneuver. The shuttle's magnetic clamps engaging with the transport's hull with a dull thunk. The airlock systems attempted to establish a seal, but warning lights indicated an incomplete connection. "Transport, we have partial docking," Crash reported, unbuckling from the pilot's seat with painful slowness. "Seal is compromised. I'll need to perform manual override and emergency patching." "Hurry!" came the response from the transport captain. "Our structural integrity is down to 23%. We're detecting increasing pressure from the asteroid movement." Crash made his way to the shuttle's airlock, each step sending fresh waves of pain through his broken body. He retrieved an emergency repair kit from the wall compartment and sealed his pressure suit's helmet. "Depressurizing shuttle airlock," he reported, activating the cycle. Once the air had been evacuated, he opened the shuttle's outer door and faced the damaged connection between the two vessels. The problem was immediately apparent. The transport's access port was misaligned by nearly 15 centimeters, preventing a proper seal. Additionally, the port's locking mechanism was damaged, bent inward from the pressure of the asteroids. "Going to need to make some adjustments," Crash muttered into his comm. He pulled a multi-tool from the repair kit and began working on the damaged locking mechanism, forcing it back into alignment with brute strength that sent fresh agony through his broken wrists. Once the mechanism was roughly aligned, Crash applied emergency sealant around the connection, creating an improvised airlock tunnel between the shuttle and the transport. It wasn't pretty, but it would allow for evacuation. "Transport, I've established a temporary passage," Crash reported, "beginning manual override of your access port." Using the multi-tool again, Crash bypassed the transport's damaged controls and forced the inner door open. As it slid aside, he was met by the frightened faces of the civilians inside, crowded into the access corridor. "Shuttle's here," Crash announced, trying to keep his voice steady despite the pain racking his body. "We need to evacuate quickly. The cluster is becoming more unstable." The transport's captain, a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin, stepped forward. "Thank you for coming. We have 27 passengers, including 6 children. Our engine core is approaching critical failure due to the pressure damage." "Then we'd better move fast," Crash replied, gesturing toward the improvised airlock. "Pressure suits for everyone who has them. The seal isn't perfect, so expect some decompression effects. I'll help those without suits through first." As the evacuation began, Crash assisted the passengers through the makeshift corridor, prioritizing the children and those without proper space gear. Each movement sent fresh waves of pain through his broken body, but he pushed through it, focusing on the task at hand. The neural monitor continued to flash warnings, which Crash continued to ignore. Halfway through the evacuation, a violent shudder ran through both vessels as the asteroids shifted position, increasing the pressure on the transport. "Structural integrity at 15%, the transport's captain reported anxiously. "The lower decks are beginning to collapse." "Pick up the pace," Crash urged, helping a mother and her child through the airlock. "We don't have much time." As the evacuation continued, Crash's condition deteriorated. The pain suppressants were wearing off, and the exertion had reopened some of his internal injuries. Blood seeped through the medical suit beneath his pressure gear, and his breathing became labored as his damaged lungs struggled to function. The neural monitor now emitted a continuous alarm, which Crash finally silenced by ripping it from his collar. 22 civilians had made it to the shuttle when another, more violent shudder ran through the vessels. "The asteroids are accelerating their movement," the transport captain warned, checking a handheld sensor. "Estimate complete structural failure in less than 10 minutes. 5 more to go," Crash said, helping an elderly passenger through the airlock. "We'll make it." Just as the last civilian prepared to cross into the shuttle, a massive impact rocked the transport. The improvised seal between the vessels tore partially open, air rushing out into the vacuum of space. Crash lunged forward, grabbing the final passenger, a young alien child, and shoved them through the gap into the waiting arms of the transport captain. "Get to the shuttle!" Crash shouted, bracing himself against the airlock frame as the decompression threatened to pull him into space. "I need to reseal this before we can detach." The transport captain nodded, ushering the child toward safety. Crash turned his attention to the damaged seal, pulling a roll of emergency patching material from his suit's utility pouch, working quickly despite his injuries. He applied the patch over the torn section, creating a temporary fix. "Everyone aboard the shuttle?" Crash asked over the comm. "All passengers accounted for," confirmed the transport captain. "But the structural integrity is failing rapidly. We need to detach now." Crash made his way back to the shuttle, sealing the airlock behind him. Once inside, he instructed the passengers to secure themselves for immediate departure. "Brace for emergency detachment," he warned, limping back to the pilot's seat. "This is going to be rough." As Crash engaged the shuttle's engines, preparing to break away from the doomed transport, the sensors blared a warning. A massive asteroid, nearly twice the size of the shuttle, had broken free from the cluster's outer ring and was tumbling directly toward them. "Change of plans," Crash muttered, quickly recalculating their escape route. The standard procedure would be to detach and immediately put distance between the shuttle and the failing transport. But with the incoming asteroid, that path was blocked. Making a split-second decision, Crash adjusted the shuttle's position, maintaining the connection with the transport. "What are you doing?" the transport captain asked, alarm evident in his voice. "Using the transport as a shield," Crash explained grimly. "When that asteroid hits, it'll create a momentary gap in the field. We'll use that to slingshot out." "The impact will destroy the transport." "It's already lost," Crash replied, "but it can help save us one more time." Before anyone could protest further, Crash locked the shuttle's trajectory and prepared for the impact. The massive asteroid closed in rapidly, its jagged surface filling the view screen. "Everyone hold on!" Crash shouted. The asteroid slammed into the transport with catastrophic force, tearing through its already weakened structure. The impact transferred through the connected vessels, sending the shuttle spinning violently. Crash was thrown against the control panel, a fresh explosion of pain erupting from his broken ribs. Fighting to remain conscious, Crash seized the controls and detached from the transport's remains at precisely the calculated moment. The shuttle shot forward, riding the gravitational wave created by the collision, threading through the momentary gap in the asteroid field. "Hang on," Crash called out, voice strained with pain as he navigated the shuttle through the chaos. Fragments of the destroyed transport and shattered asteroid flew past, pinging off the hull like deadly rain. For several heart-stopping moments, the shuttle tumbled through the debris field, Crash making continuous adjustments to avoid collision. Then, suddenly, they were clear, emerging from the edge of the asteroid cluster into open space. "Ether's wake," Crash transmitted, voice barely above a whisper as the adrenaline began to fade, allowing the full weight of his injuries to return. "Mission accomplished. 27 civilians rescued. Requesting immediate medical assistance upon arrival." "Copy that. Shuttle Epsilon." Captain Girat's voice came through, relief evident in the alien's tone. "Docking bay is prepared. Medical team standing by." As the shuttle limped back toward the Ether's wake, Crash's vision began to blur. The pain suppressants had worn off completely, and his broken body was finally reaching its limit. Blood soaked through the medical suit beneath his pressure gear, and his breathing came in short, painful gasps. "Specialist?" the transport captain asked, concerned by Crash's deteriorating condition. "Do you require assistance?" "Just get us home," Crash managed, fighting to remain conscious long enough to dock the shuttle. By the time the shuttle glided into the Ether's wake's docking bay, Crash was barely conscious, operating on instinct and years of training. He completed the docking procedure with trembling hands, then slumped forward in the pilot's seat as the engines powered down. The airlock cycled open, and Dr. X-Rat rushed in, followed by the rest of the medical team. They found Crash unconscious, his vital signs weak and erratic. "Get him to medical bay immediately," Dr. X-Rat ordered, mandibles clicking with urgency. "And prepare for emergency surgery." As they transferred Crash to a hovering stretcher, Dr. Frylex conducted a quick scan of the human's body. The results appeared on his portable medical tablet, causing the alien doctor to emit a sound of disbelief. 53 fractures, Dr. Frylex reported. The original 42 plus 11 new breaks, severe internal hemorrhaging, collapsed lung, spinal trauma. "How is he still alive?" Dr. Prash whispered, helping to stabilize the human for transport. "I do not know," Dr. X-Rat replied, administering emergency stabilizers. "But we will ensure he remains that way." The medical team rushed Crash back to the medical bay, where they immediately began the complex process of repairing his shattered body. The surgery lasted for 12 hours, with the medical team working in shifts to address each injury methodically. While the doctors worked, Captain Girat convened a debriefing with the bridge officers and the rescued transport captain. The discussion centered on Crash's unorthodox rescue method and the risks the specialist had taken. By all accounts, the human should not have been able to function, let alone pilot a shuttle through an asteroid field. Navigator Jarrell stated, displaying the sensor logs from the mission. The G-forces alone during that final maneuver would have rendered most species unconscious. Yet he saved 27 lives, the transport captain noted, including 6 children. "At what cost?" asked the ship's executive officer. "The specialist may have suffered permanent damage. Was it worth risking 1 life for 27? "That is not a calculation I wish to make," Captain Girat replied thoughtfully. "But it is one that Specialist Crash made without hesitation. Humans are puzzling," Navigator Jarrell observed. "They seem to operate beyond their physical limitations when necessity demands. Perhaps that is their evolutionary advantage," suggested Dr. Frylex, who had joined the debriefing after completing his surgical shift. While most species evolved to avoid danger and minimize risk, humans may have evolved to function despite injury, to push beyond normal limitations when survival requires it. "A dangerous trait," the executive officer commented. "But an effective one," Captain Girat countered. "Without that trait, 27 civilians would be dead." The debriefing continued, with the officers analyzing every aspect of the mission, seeking to understand both the tactical decisions and the physiological enigma that was the human specialist. 3 days later, Crash awoke in the medical bay, his body encased in regenerative gel and supported by a complex array of medical equipment. He blinked slowly, consciousness returning in fragments as the sedatives wore off. Dr. Prash noticed the human's open eyes and approached the recovery pod. "Specialist Crash," the doctor said softly. "You are in the medical bay of the Ether's Wake. You have been unconscious for 3 days while we repaired your injuries." Crash attempted to speak, but his throat was dry from disuse. Dr. Prash offered a small amount of water through a straw, which the human accepted gratefully. "Did everyone make it?" Crash asked, voice hoarse but urgent. "All 27 civilians are safe," Dr. Prash confirmed. "They have been transferred to a medical station in the Proxima system for further care, but none suffered serious injuries thanks to your actions." Crash's tense expression relaxed into relief. "Good," he whispered. "That's good." Dr. X-Rat approached, examining the medical readouts above the recovery pod. "Your recovery is proceeding faster than anticipated," the chief surgeon noted, mandibles clicking with mild surprise. "Though you will require at least 2 more weeks in the regenerative chamber before you can resume light duties." 2 weeks? Crash protested weakly. "I'll be fine in a few days." Dr. X-Rat's mandibles clicked in what might have been the alien equivalent of a chuckle. "Specialist, You had 53 broken bones, a collapsed lung, internal hemorrhaging, and spinal trauma. It is a miracle you are alive, let alone conscious and conversing. Been through worse, Crash muttered, though his attempt at bravado was undermined by a wince of pain as he tried to shift position. I highly doubt that, Dr. Zarat commented, joining the conversation. In fact, I have been researching human medical records, and I cannot find a documented case of survival with injuries of this magnitude without immediate stasis treatment. First time for everything, Crash replied with a weak grin. So, when can I see the mission logs? Need to file my report. The medical team exchanged looks of exasperation and disbelief. The mission data has been secured, Dr. Prash assured the human. Captain Jarrett has postponed your debriefing until you are medically cleared. But, Crash began to protest. No arguments, Dr. X-Rat interrupted firmly. You have exceeded all reasonable limits of physical endurance. Now, you must allow your body time to heal. Crash sighed, but didn't argue further, a testament to just how severe his injuries had been. Instead, he changed the subject. The transport. What happened to it? Completely destroyed, Dr. Freilex answered. The asteroid impact was catastrophic. Nothing remained larger than a few meters in diameter. Crash nodded slowly, processing this information. Had to use it as a shield, he explained. No other way out with that big asteroid coming at us. Your tactical decision was unorthodox but effective, Dr. Freilex acknowledged. The timing of the detachment and the subsequent trajectory calculation demonstrated remarkable precision, especially given your physical condition. Just did what needed doing, Crash said simply. As the days passed, Crash's recovery continued to surprise the medical team. The human's body seemed to repair itself with unexpected efficiency, regenerating bone and tissue at rates that defied the doctor's predictions. 1 week after the rescue, Dr. X-Rat allowed Crash to be transferred to a mobile recovery unit, essentially a hovering chair equipped with medical monitoring devices and regenerative field generators. This limited mobility pleased the human immensely, and Crash immediately requested permission to attend the official mission debriefing. Absolutely not, Dr. X-Rat initially declared. You are still in critical recovery? I'm well enough to sit in a chair and talk, Crash argued. Besides, my first-hand account is crucial for the mission analysis. After much debate and a direct order from Captain Jarrett, Dr. X-Rat reluctantly agreed, with the condition that the medical team would monitor Crash's vital signs throughout the debriefing and terminate the session at the first sign of distress. And so, Crash found himself wheeling into the briefing room in his medical gravcart, bandages still covering much of his body, but a triumphant grin on his face. The ship's officers rose as he entered, a gesture of respect that caught the human by surprise. Specialist Crash, Captain Jarrett greeted, inclining his elongated head. We are pleased to see you recovering. Your actions during the rescue mission were extraordinary. Just doing my job, Captain, Crash replied, maneuvering the gravcart to the position reserved for him at the briefing table. Your job does not typically include piloting a shuttle with 53 broken bones, Navigator Jarrell pointed out, mandibles twitching in what might have been amusement. Details, Crash said with a dismissive wave that made him wince as it pulled at his healing ribs. The debriefing proceeded, with Crash providing his account of both the initial reconnaissance mission and the subsequent rescue operation. The officers asked detailed questions about his decision-making process, particularly regarding the unorthodox rescue method. To be honest, Captain, Crash admitted, I didn't have time to run probability calculations. I saw a problem, figured out a solution, and implemented it before anyone could tell me it was impossible. That approach seems characteristic of your species, the executive officer observed. Acting before full analysis is complete. Sometimes analysis takes too long, Crash countered. In a collapsing asteroid field, You don't have the luxury of perfect information. A valid point, Captain Girat acknowledged, and one that perhaps we, as a collective, should consider more deeply. There may be situations where the human approach, intuitive, adaptive, even reckless by our standards, is precisely what is needed. The discussion continued, evolving from a standard mission debriefing into a philosophical examination of different species' approaches to crisis management. Throughout, Crash maintained his characteristic blend of humor and pragmatism, despite the obvious pain that lingered in his movements and expressions. As the debriefing concluded, Captain Girat addressed Crash directly. Specialist, your actions have saved 27 lives and provided valuable reconnaissance data that will inform our operations in Sector 9. On behalf of the Ether's Wake and the Galactic Concord, I commend your extraordinary service. Crash nodded, accepting the praise with a hint of embarrassment. Thank you, Captain. But I have to ask, when can I get back out there? There's still a lot of Sector 9 to explore. Dr. X-Rat, who had been monitoring Crash's vital signs throughout the debriefing, clicked his mandibles in exasperation. Specialist, you require at least another month of intensive regenerative therapy before you can be cleared for even light duty. A month, Crash protested. But I'm already feeling better. Your subjective experience of feeling better does not align with the objective medical reality, Dr. X-Rat stated firmly. Your skeletal structure is still compromised in 17 locations. Your lung function is at 72% of normal capacity. All right, Crash interrupted, holding up a bandaged hand in surrender. But, as soon as I'm cleared, I want back on the active roster. There's a lot more impossible missions waiting out there. Captain Girat exchanged a look with the medical officer, then nodded. When Dr. X-Rat clears you for duty, and not a moment before, we will discuss your next assignment. As the briefing room cleared, Dr. Frylex lingered, studying the human with analytical curiosity. Specialist Crash, I have been researching human physiology since your rescue operation, and I find myself puzzled by a fundamental question. What's that, Doc? Crash asked, adjusting the medical gravcart's position to face the alien doctor. Human evolution appears to have prioritized resilience over prevention, Dr. Frylex observed. Most species evolve to avoid injury entirely. Enhanced reflexes, protective exoskeletons, redundant organs. But humans seem designed to endure damage rather than prevent it. It seems counterintuitive from an evolutionary perspective. Crash considered this for a moment, then shrugged, a gesture that still caused him to wince slightly. Maybe we're not designed to avoid catastrophe, he suggested. Maybe we're designed to survive it. An interesting hypothesis, Dr. Frylex mused. It would explain your species' remarkable history of enduring disasters that should, by all logical measures, have eliminated you. We're stubborn that way, Crash agreed with a grin. Hard to kill. Indeed, Dr. Frylex replied. Perhaps that is precisely what makes humans valuable to the galactic community. In a universe governed by probability and predictable outcomes, an unpredictable element, a species that can function beyond its theoretical limits, may be exactly what is needed for certain situations. As Dr. Frylex departed, Crash wheeled his gravcart toward the door, intent on returning to the medical bay, not for rest, as the doctors had instructed, but to review the mission logs and prepare for what he was already thinking of as the next impossible mission. In the corridor outside, Dr. Frylex encountered Dr. X-Rat, who had been waiting to escort Crash back to medical bay. The human is requesting access to mission files, Dr. Frylex reported. Despite clear instructions to rest, Dr. X-Rat's mandibles clicked in what might have been resignation. I am beginning to believe that humans aren't a medical problem to solve, the chief surgeon observed. They're a force to be reckoned with. Indeed, Dr. Frylex agreed, watching as Crash wheeled determinedly down the corridor. Perhaps that is their greatest strength, not their physical resilience, but their refusal to acknowledge limitations. A dangerous trait, Dr. X-Rat commented. But an effective one, Dr. Frylex countered, echoing Captain Girat's earlier sentiment. As they watched, Crash paused at an intersection, clearly considering a detour away from the medical bay. Then, seemingly sensing the doctor's observation, the human turned and offered a mock salute before continuing obediently toward recovery. At least for now, Dr. X-Rat added, with a click of his mandibles. We still have some influence over this particular force of nature. For now, Dr. Frylex agreed. But I suspect that Specialist Crash, and humans in general, will continue to defy our expectations and challenges our assumptions about what is possible. Perhaps humans aren't a problem to solve, Dr. X-Rat mused, watching as Crash disappeared around a corner. They're a force to be reckoned with.